Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to your weekly dose of celestial goodness. As always, thank you for joining me in this space and on this journey. I really appreciate your presence and that you're watching and liking these videos. I definitely appreciate it. So, big week in the United States of America, and a small disclaimer that this message is meant to be inspiring. But to get to that place, we have to address the elephant in the room. Within the United States, that is. As I was writing up my plan and stuff for what I was going to talk about this week, the news actually came in that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris had been elected as the new president and vice president of the United States. It's a very historic moment because she is actually the first woman and the first person who is both Black and Asian to be the vice president. Of course, me being Jamaican and her dad being Jamaican, it was also very sentimental in that sense, you know? And I really had to take a moment because there was a lot of ugly crying, happy crying, and I really just felt a sigh of relief. Really, the release of something heavy, so heavy that I didn't even realize how much I had been holding on to. Now, there are a lot of people who will say, well, why are you going to talk about politics on this platform? Well, I can never separate myself from being a Black woman in this country, and so this was a very important election to me. There was something, though, that was very revealing about this race and the fact that it was so close. After everything that people saw and witnessed over the last 4 years, children in cages, a refusal to acknowledge that racism exists, the curtailing of basic human rights, and a lack of care and utter disregard for the environment. I was personally shocked by how many people voted for the incumbent. And obviously, like I said, if you're watching this, you know that I'm a Black woman, and that can probably give you a sense of where things fell for me. I didn't make my vote, though, simply for me, but for many reasons, including what I would consider a return to decency, a return to kindness. I made that for my family and my friends who are part of the LGBTQ community, for immigrants, for myself as a Black person in this country, for science, climate change, the impact that the weather is changing and impacting things like agriculture. The list is so long, right? And initially, I will say that even I felt a little bit of hopelessness this week, and the energy was very heavy and intense. I had to remind myself that I knew things ended on a Mercury retrograde, which meant it could be a slow unveiling of the results. And so I really had to double down on my own self-care. I took a day off of work. I went for a very long walk. I completely disconnected from technology, and I really reminded myself of some things that I know to be true. I have literally been reminding myself of the things that I talk about all the time. Hope, fighting for what I believe in, doing what I can within the span of my control, and love, having love and keeping the faith even when it's hard. One of the things that I remembered is that throughout history, no matter what is going on, there are always people out there who are being kind, who are being compassionate, and who are expressing love. Mr. Rogers had a quote that he always used to say. When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, "Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping." Now, some people have issue with this quote because they think it's been overused in tragedies and that it was a quote intended for children. When I hear this quote, what I actually think is that it's just more of a reminder that good and goodness is always happening. When we train our eye to see it, we will see that good things are indeed happening, and we'll always find people that are helping and doing these acts of kindness and goodness. Furthermore, I also think that it is a call for us to do good as well. We cannot sit passively by and just let life happen as it may. That is being reactive. We need to be proactive about creating the world that we want to see. We must be proactive about going after the future that we want. We've often heard this quote by Gandhi, and it says, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." And I know Gandhi is also not without controversy, but I think that the message is an important one. I also read somewhere that this quote is actually a simplification of something else that he actually said, or a larger quote, which I'm going to share with you. He said, "We but mirror the world. All the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. This is the divine mystery supreme. A wonderful thing it is, and the source of our happiness. We need not wait to see what others do." And for me, the key line here is, we do not need to wait to see what others do. We can do good right at this moment where we are. If this election tells me anything, it tells me that there is work yet to be done. It tells me that at any moment, any of us could be called to stand on the right side of history. It tells me that when I have read history and wondered, how could people do, X, Y, and Z crazy thing, I need not wonder anymore, because I have seen it all unfold with my own eyes in my own time. The beauty of democracy is that everyone can have an opinion and cast their own vote and feel how they want to feel about something. And there are tons of people, obviously, who don't agree with me. And yet everyone's supposed to, for the most part, be able to get along. But there was something different in how this week felt. I am reminded of the words of the great writer James Baldwin. We can disagree and still love each other, unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist. It has been hard to feel that sense of unity when everything about the other side felt rooted in my oppression and like a rebuke of my very existence. But this week, I want to remind you that good things are still happening, and that at any moment you can be the change or the goodness that you wish to see in this world. And we need that more than ever. Desmond Tutu said, "Do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world." So cheers to the beauty and love that yet remains in this world. And I just want to share a few examples of the human spirit shining through in history. There are many examples, but I often think of these people or these examples as just really amazing in the span of our history, our collective history. During the Great Depression, the famous jazz musician Louis Armstrong set up a pile of coal in Baltimore, and he let underprivileged families come and take as much as they needed. When he was growing up in New Orleans, he actually sold coal and realized the value to these families, especially during the winter time. It would allow families to warm their home during a rough economic time and during this very cold mid-Atlantic season. In 1859, Henry Dunant had traveled from Switzerland to Solferino, Italy for business. While there, he witnessed a deadly battle that was a part of the Second War of Italian Independence. He wrote his memories and observations in his book, Memories of Solferino. In the book, he talked about the fact that so many people were left to die and how little was done to care for the sick or to care for those who were dying. It was a lack of dignity in the way that they were just scattered across the battlefield. His book and his idea for a neutral organization that treated wounded soldiers became very popular. This organization became the Red Cross. His ideas also helped inspire other humanitarian organizations and helped to establish the Geneva Conventions. He was actually awarded the first Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, and next, some people may have heard of Nicholas Winton. If you haven't, Google him. He was born to a Jewish family in the UK, and he was horrified by what he saw happening in Nazi Germany and the spread of fascism across Eastern and Western Europe. The British government worked with him to save over 669 Jewish children. He brought them to Britain and he found homes for them. This was one of those under the quiet acts of kindness. You know, it wasn't until 1988 that his wife found the notes of these amazing deeds and informed a Holocaust researcher. The BBC did a story on it, and there's footage of that on the BBC where they actually brought him to an auditorium and he was in there with all these other people. And then he realized, because everyone started standing up, that these were all children that he had helped who are now adults. Look up that video, but be prepared to shed some tears. Also, the chef Jose Andres. He has really done some amazing and kind deeds. His World Central Kitchen has provided over 1 million meals to people impacted by natural disasters. He always shows up for the communities around him and even people, strangers to him, near and far. In the last time there was a shutdown in DC, his restaurant actually opened up and started feeding federal employees, people who were maybe out of work, and that is just part of his nature and his character. Kindness. I can mention Oprah. Most people already know about some of the amazing things that she has done. And it's reported that she actually supports over 23 charities and foundations, including her own. She had often emphasized that donating time is just as valuable as donating money. And I'm going to mention Harriet Tubman because I wanted to do some research on her, some very in-depth research, and to me, she's a superhero. She saved hundreds of people during slavery She fought with the Union Army, actually becoming the first woman to ever lead an armed raid in the American Civil War. And she advocated for a better country for everyone. She was brave. She was bravery in ways you can't even describe or understand. And if you don't know about her, please do some research on this absolutely incredible woman. And finally, during this year, as the world has experienced a global pandemic, I have seen small acts of kindness from friends, family, and even strangers. These small acts make a big difference, and they give me hope for the future. Each day, there are many people that you will never hear about who are shining their love light. You don't have to tell everybody about all of the good things you do, blast it on social media and all of that, but know that the energy that you put out is helpful to everyone. I always get a visual in my mind of of love just being like this golden light that's just sprinkled all over the world. This is the world that I want to see and that I want for the future and that I am working towards helping to create every single day. I am really emotional today, and that is because I do feel more hopeful than ever that the things that make us human, the things that make this world great and beautiful and amazing, will prevail. That is, in short, our ability to transcend obstacles, to love each other and ourselves, and to love this beautiful planet on which we reside. Tom Hiddleston said, "Doing good in this world and being kind and being honest and noble is really underrated." And I think every day people have enormous power, and they have enormous power for good. And if you're good to people, the world is a better place. May the stars shine so bright over your week, and may it be a week filled with hope, healing, and abundance of love. If you're enjoying these videos, please do continue to like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, comment, and share. I definitely appreciate it. So lots and lots of love to you this week. Thank you.